As India steps into 2026, its diplomatic posture signals a clear shift. 2026 will be a year of calibration as countries in our neighborhood stand at inflection points, viewers. For New Delhi, the task is to play multiple tables at the same time, tackling a Trump White House, keep an eye on our volatile neighborhood, engage with China without illusions, and at the same time use trade and technology as strategic tools for our growth. India's 2026 playbook isn't about grandstanding. It is about strategic balance. And let's decode that for you. First up, let's take United States, a very consequential bilateral partnership for us. And you have President Trump in the Oval Office. Now, India faced the brunt of Trump's unpredictability in 2025. There were increased tariffs, immigration crackdown, targeting of Indian students, H-1B techies, all of it we saw in 2025. Will it be any different this year? Well, remains to be seen whether there'll be a diplomatic thaw or whether there'll be continued turbulences. Don't forget there is the midterm polls later this year. So there's a fair chance that Donald Trump's chaos may continue to appease his MAGA base. And India's priority in that should be that it must reset the trust deficit without compromising its strategic autonomy. That's the big aspect that we need to keep in mind. We will be hosting BRICS and Quad summits this year. It will be a test of how to balance competing world orders at the same time, pushing Putin, Xi, and Donald Trump to attend these summits. And that's going to be a key takeaway in 2026 for India. Well, let's now talk about the neighborhood, where volatility continues to rise. First is Bangladesh. We're seeing how it's unfolding. There are the February 12th polls. There will be a turning point. Or will they? That's the question. Because there's rising extremism that has actually thrown Bangladesh into a deep descent. Let's take Nepal. There are elections that are going to be held in March, if the trajectory is agreed to. After a Gen Z-led revolution that overthrew the previous government, the frontrunner, well, is a rapper turned mayor, Balendra Shah, openly critical of India, raising hard questions about the future trajectory of India-Nepal ties. These are very important countries for India, our neighborhood. And let's not forget China. 2025 did see some sort of a thaw in our bilateral ties, but it's cautious optimism at best. There are guardrails that remain because the China-Pakistan nexus continues to remain a concern. Only a couple of days back, as we ended 2025, China said something about Operation Sindoor. Don't forget that. Lastly is the trade and tech piece, where India is pushing to ink the EU Free Trade Pact on its own terms to get access, ensure growth, and get leverage. EU leaders are set to be the chief guest for this year's Republic Day parade, essentially telling the world that India will negotiate, but on its own terms. Meanwhile, it will also be hosting the AI Action Summit, Impact Summit, that is the Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit, positioning itself as a key voice in global technology. The adoption of the India model of the AI will be the big highlight of this year, viewers, and it will happen for all developing countries. It is the India model that will really stand out, not the Chinese one, and most certainly not the capitalist-led American model. To talk more about how the 2026 roadmap for India is likely to turn out, we have identified those key areas for you. Let's now get in our top voice on the segment, which is Dr. C. Raja Mohan, someone who understands foreign policy very well and with whom we're going to decode what really lies ahead. Dr. Mohan, thanks much for speaking to us on India Sense. Let me start by asking you the 2026 foreign policy landscape for India. There are some concerns, there are some obstacles, and there are some opportunities. How do you see it?
In my view, the most important thing is going to be redoing India's trade relationships. 2025 has been a big disruption thanks to President Trump on the global trading system and India's own challenges that it faces because of the Trump tariffs. We've already seen in the 2025 India ramp up some of its free trade negotiations. So my sense is the focus would be internally more economic reform, and externally how does India expand its trade relationships, how does India get more investments, how does India become part of the global supply chains? So I think geoeconomics would be a key element, because without economics, the rest of the foreign policy
Okay.
will only get weaker.
You started with geoeconomics, and a corollary of that is semiconductors, artificial intelligence, rare earth minerals. Where do you see collaborations in all these spaces for India going forward?
No, we already seen, I think, India's semiconductor mission that was begun by the present government a couple of years ago is finally bearing fruit. So that's a very, very important component, strengthening India's position in the manufacture of semiconductors. India is already involved in the design of advanced semiconductors, but it's not been a force in the production of semiconductors. So that gap, I think, we're beginning to see filled. But I think India has a long way to go. So it's not going to be something that is done overnight. But I think the first steps have been taken. Second, I think, is in relation to creating the shall we say, a system where India, the regulatory structure for the advancement of AI, the government has already issued some draft guidelines that are being looked at by the citizens, and there'll be commentary on that. So creating a appropriate regulatory environment. A third, I think, is really the question of how does the international rules play out, and I think the AI summit in February in Delhi will be a major occasion to see
Indeed.
where the global rules are going and what India can do to shape those rules.
Okay. But I guess, away from that, to the other big priority this year is going to be our neighborhood. There is volatility, whether you take Bangladesh, whether you take Nepal, you take the continuing turmoil in Pakistan. Navigating these choppy waters is going to be our key priority this year.
I think there's always this, worry that things are falling apart in the neighborhood. I mean, the neighborhood relationship, if you look at the last 80 years, it's always been up and down. If anyone can tell me there was a particular moment when we were in a golden age with the neighbors, all of the neighbors at the same time, that I would like to hear an answer for that. So I think it's always going to be up and down, sometimes good, sometimes bad. With Pakistan, of course, there's been more bad than good. But with other countries, we've seen phases of intense cooperation, intense engagement. My sense is one of the key areas of focus for 2026 will be how do we reset the relationship with Bangladesh. You've seen Foreign Minister Jaishankar was in Dhaka yesterday to attend the funeral of Khalida Zia, who passed away. And I think he met her son, who's likely the next Prime Minister of Bangladesh,
Yes.
To engage them. So my sense is, and you've seen the Prime Minister's letter that was released after Mr. Jaishankar's visit.
Yes.
That is our Prime Minister's letter to Mr. Rahman, who is the son of Khalida Zia. So I think we're sending out signals. India is ready to engage on a mutually beneficial basis.
Yes.
So if the election results go as expected, if the BNP becomes a leading power, I think we're going to see significant, hopefully significant opportunities to reset the relationship.
All right, this is a tough one, but any geopolitical headwinds that we should sort of be embracing ourselves for? I know there's uncertainty, but anything that you could predict?
I think if you can predict, of course, it's always easy. No one predicted, even on February 13th last year when Prime Minister Modi met President Trump, things would get down to this messy in terms of the trade relationship. But my sense is the global economic system is in a turmoil. So the question is, there can always be surprises, there can always be more turmoil. So therefore, I think being prepared for managing the global economic turmoil will be a key factor. Second, I think in our own neighborhood and in the Gulf, things are going downhill. We've seen recently the clashes between UAE and Saudi Arabia. We've seen mass protests in Iran taking place in the last few days. I think the Gulf and the Middle East, for all Trump's talk about peace process there, things are pretty unstable. And I think what happens in the Gulf, given the centrality of the Gulf in our neighborhood policy, their importance as an energy supplier, as a host to India's labor, things, so what happens in the Gulf will have a big bearing. In the East, I think the real challenge is China's military power is continuing to grow.
Yes.
China's economic rise is now compounded by its military capabilities. And I think what China does in the region, particularly if Trump is eager to accommodate China,
Yes.
there can be surprises there if US and China come together.
All right. Life is about surprises, and let's see what 2026 lies ahead for us. Thanks much, Dr. C. Raja Mohan, for decoding that.